Yes. Well, Jackson, you're right. There is a lot of concern for my hiccups right now in the YouTube chat, 101 ESPN. The cameras are sponsored by the Air Alliance team. Timothy, Michael, McKernan, Jackson, Bennett, Burkett. Just to be straightforward with the audience right out of the gate, I don't know how this will impact TSL. That's time spent listening to you and me, Russ, Audrey. I have the hiccups, and if I can't go, Jackson says he is ready to discuss the Sacramento Kings prospects for the upcoming NBA season.
The West is open. People think that the West is Denver's to win. I don't think so.
It's T-Wolf time.
I think people think it's Ant season. I love Ant, but I think if you're Sacramento or if you're in Oklahoma City right now, you should be pretty darn excited about this hoop season.
So that's what's going to happen for the next 50 minutes because I can't talk because of hiccups. I'm going to try to ratchet my game up, and I hope I can come through for the audience, especially for someone who's going to join us at 10:15, brought to you by James Carlton. His name is the Colonel, and it's Gabe, DeArmond, a Power Mizzou.
Let's go, Tigers.
Fight. Tiger. Fight, Tiger. Beat. Beat. Beat Golden Eagles. Well, anyway, you get the idea.
I think that
uniform reveal: yellow shirts, black pant, black helmet, oval tiger.
Yeah,
and it was who was in the elevator?
Marvin Burks.
Marvin Burks was in the elevator.
St. Louis proud.
And the uniform reveals continue to just get better and better.
They do. I early in the week, I was asked what do I think the uniforms would be. I said black helmet, yellow jersey, black pants.
You're on this thing.
Nailed it. But I last year against K-State, they wore black jersey, black pants, gold helmet. Not a good look. Not a good look. I like the black helmet, gold jersey, black pants. That's a good look. I think it looks sharp.
But is it really gold?
No, it's yellow.
Okay.
It's yellow. But I think the yellow looks better than, like, no offense, and this is not anti-Irish. I love the Irish, but it looks better to me than Notre Dame's version of gold.
The yellow looks better than Notre Dame's gold, which is actually gold?
Yeah, to me it does.
Your thoughts, 314-399-9646. We'll ask Gabe. He always loves when we talk uniforms on the program. Jackson, you will not be going. You are going to a wedding.
Yeah, wedding in St. Louis this weekend, so I cannot go up to Columbia, but it's okay.
Okay, fair enough.
It's all right. I was there last week.
Cardinals with a win, beginning what is going to finish as a 20-game win streak to get them into the postseason on the final day, and then they will beat the New York Yankees on November 2nd. We'll have a World Series parade. We will be there in downtown St. Louis.
That's right.
Got that coming up.
Yep.
The Blues, we're getting close to the day game opener against Seattle. Jackson was brought up to speed on that being the case this morning on TMA. And I wanted to make sure we got some Blues conversation in our opening segment here on Balloon Party 101 ESPN. This is the home of the St. Louis Blues.
It sure is.
Blues and Brews a week from tonight at the brewery, Anheuser-Busch Brewery. Jackson, your thoughts on the Blues opening up at 3:30 Central, 1:30 Pacific on Tuesday, October 8th against the Seattle Kraken. That'll take place in Washington.
Yeah, and you can most certainly hear it right here on 101 ESPN. I get that ESPN is doing like a triple header where they have it's a nationally broadcasted game, which is really cool.
They'll cap things off with Utah hosting Chicago.
Yes, that'll be the final one, and then there's the Bruins taking on the Panthers, the reigning Stanley Cup champion Panthers.
That's right.
About halfway through that, I wasn't positive if the Oilers won that game or not, but I was confident enough. I get that. However, I just don't see a world in which 3:30 St. Louis time, 1:30 Seattle time on a Tuesday, there's going to be a lot of excitement, or at least a lot of people have the opportunity to go or watch the game. People are in school. People are at work.
People are in school and at work when the Cardinals have their opener during a Thursday afternoon or Monday afternoon.
One of 162 as opposed to one of 81.
I don't understand.
Well, I mean, that's a 50% less games. And
so therefore, the hockey game means more. It means twice as much.
I know, which means it should be played when people can go see it.
But people go see the baseball game.
Not recently, but yes.
On the opener.
Yeah. The opening day in baseball is kind of expected to be outdoors, considering to be a day game because it's outdoors. That's like a standard thing. Hockey, as far as I know, again, I'm no Peter Puck, but I didn't think that hockey and day games on the weekday were a very popular thing.
Monday in February, the Blues took on Austin Matthews and the Leafs.
Wasn't that President's Day?
It was.
Okay, so that's a national holiday. There's a game.
It wasn't for the Leafs.
Tuesday, October 15th?
8th. Let's start doing a little show prep.
Tuesday, October 8th, as far as I know, is not a federal holiday.
It's Canada's Thanksgiving.
Is that right? Okay, so now we're disrespecting the Canadians by putting the opening day on their Thanksgiving. That's not cool. Are we
disrespecting Americans by having Thanksgiving football?
No, that's again tradition. We're disrespecting it by putting them in indoor stadiums. I'll tell you that. Give us
Seattle, while close to the Canadian border, an American city.
Yeah,
probably an American city too, might I note.
Close to Vancouver, and I've never been to Canada, but I would guess Vancouver would be my favorite Canadian city.
And why is that?
It just seems very beautiful. A lot of cedar.
Why do you hate Nova Scotia?
I got no. Is that where Halifax is?
Yeah.
I love the name Halifax. So I think I'd like a lot of Canada.
Porcupine Plain, Saskatchewan. Kelly Chase, number 39.
My parents were just in Canada. They were in Banff.
Of course they were.
But they were going to go to Jasper. But I think they were in wildfire problems.
There's 3 flights from Ladue to Banff every day.
So, yeah, it takes off directly from Log. You take off in the 8th fairway.
I'm ill by this conversation.
I don't think you are. Tuesday, October. I'm trying to find if there's another holiday that day besides Canadian Thanksgiving. Tuesday, October 8th.
It's Canadian Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
The NHL always has several day games because of it. Some of the 314.
Is that really the reason?
Because the 314 says.
Okay. It's also National Pierogi Day. I like a pierogi.
The ND helmets are iconic, but go Tigers. That's from the 636.
I like the helmet. I wish that the helmet and the pants would match for Notre Dame. They're 2 different shades of gold, and I don't like that.
I need to know Jackson's thoughts on the large Mizzou text on the football jerseys. Stop it. This isn't a basketball jersey. That's from the 314.
I know basketball jerseys scare you, but I think it looks great.
Tim, I'm really glad you made sure to read the scripts ahead of time. Not enough people do that. That's from the 314.
What scripts?
I don't know. I was hoping you would know what they meant.
Like we write out the script for the show?
Yeah, this is a scripted show.
Because we're like a minute behind. I was supposed to get to pierogies like at 10:12.
I know, I'm behind. You're welcome to get involved in the program. YouTube chat active. It's great to see Deep Voice Dude, Josh Stevens, and Jackson's Geography Questions.
There's someone's YouTube account name is
Jackson's Geography Questions.
That seems like a W for me.
You can text it to the Air Comfort Service text line 314-399-9646. Gabe DeArmond joins us next, talking Missouri, Boston College, the only ranked matchup this weekend in college football. And the Colonel will be there at Faurot Field. Colonel, brought to you by James Carlton, next here on Balloon Party, 101 ESPN. Welcome back to Balloon Party, 101 ESPN. Program is driven to you by Munganess St. Louis Acura, Munganess Burkhardt, Alton Toyota, Tim McKernan, and Jackson Burkett, who's kind of head bobbing and moving your shoulders.
I've been in a real dancing mood today.
I know, like a junior at Villa at prom.
That's what I was going for. And it's that Bulletproof song. It's making a real resurgence. It's so catchy. I've been singing it all day. Bulletproof.
Gabe DeArmond is dancing along as well. He's brought to you by James Carlton of the Carlton State Farm Insurance Agency. Morning, Colonel.
What's up, guys? How you doing?
We're wonderful. How are you? You fired up for? We're 25 hours away, brother. We're 25 hours away.
I love that 11:45 kickoff.
I know you do. You are not a night game fan.
Not particularly. I think I've gone to bed at 2:30 each of the last 2 weeks, so I will be in bed significantly earlier Saturday night.
The Colonel, this one is getting attention in part because the schedule is very odd this week. You got a ranked matchup tonight, Jackson.
K-State Zona.
And then the only ranked matchup on Saturday is Missouri-Boston College. I was listening to your podcast. You interviewed the Boston College beat reporter who acknowledged that for BC, 8 wins would be a hell of a season. But if they can somehow go into Columbia and keep it close with Missouri, they could feel like they could be in the mix for the ACC, which appears to be wide open at this moment, perhaps with the exception of Miami and their big win in Gainesville to start the season a couple of weeks ago. So with that said, as you've been able to dig into Boston College and what they did in the game that really mattered to open up for them in Tallahassee, and then last week they beat up on Duquesne, their quarterback, Tommy Castellanos, didn't even play in the second half. Their offensive line didn't even play in the second half. What is it that you think could provide problems for Missouri?
I think this game is about Missouri. If Missouri plays well, they're going to win. I was just telling my wife a couple days ago, when Missouri's good, I listen to a lot of college football podcasts and read a lot of national perspectives and stuff like that. Everyone I've heard talk about this game this week has pretty much said, yeah, I don't really think BC's all that good.
Yeah, I've heard that exact same thing.
You know, and the line is bigger than I thought it would be. I think that is a reflection that Vegas thinks that game was more about bad Florida State than it was about good Boston College, right? You know, I mean, even in that game, BC didn't have to do anything fancy. Bill O'Brien watched Florida State play Georgia Tech and said, all we got to do is run the ball right up the middle, and they won't stop it. And they didn't. BC ran for about 270 yards. And so they were not put in a position where Castellanos had to go win the game with his arm. Now, his passing numbers look really good this year, but he didn't have to do it much against Florida State, and then he played against Duquesne. Last year, that kid had 15 touchdowns and 14 interceptions. This year, it's 6-0. He's one of the top-rated quarterbacks in the country, but he hasn't faced anybody that's going to say, okay, that's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to throw the ball to beat us. I can't envision a scenario where Boston College can win this game without Castellanos' arm being a pretty big factor. And I'm not saying he can't do it. We don't know.
I think there is a predisposition for people who have observed Missouri football to go, oh, no, it's a running quarterback. Running quarterbacks can cause problems. We got a little taste of that last year.
It caused problems for everybody, though.
Kansas State and when Florida made their change.
LSU, too.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah, well, he was a problem for everybody. But
yeah.
You were saying they cause problems for everybody. Is that what you're saying, Gabe?
Yeah. I mean, how many teams played Missouri with Brad Smith? You knew what he was going to do.
Couldn't stop
he wasn't going to beat you. Right. He wasn't going to beat you throwing the football. Yes, mobile quarterbacks are hard to defend. They are tougher for everybody. Now, look, if you've got Peyton Manning sitting in the pocket, that's one thing. But most college quarterbacks are not Peyton Manning throwing the football, right? I think, maybe I'm wrong on this, I think Castellanos and Brady Cook are pretty similar as runners. Like, Castellanos probably a little better. I think he's faster. But Brady can run the football. And when I watched the Florida State game, now, what Missouri is saying does not agree with this. But we all know what they say publicly isn't necessarily the truth. When I watched that Florida State game, I saw a guy that, like, yeah, you've got to be aware of him running. He can run the football. But he's not a guy to me that just lines up and he's running the football and he beats you doing it. Like, I didn't look at him as a Cam Newton, Vince Young, game-changing, like, I'm going to run and you can't stop it quarterback.
Yeah, he was able to move the ball against Florida State. So far, Florida State has had its problems. The one thing that I suppose we can look at to try to gauge, was that about Boston College or was that about Florida State? Florida State's other opponent, Georgia Tech, went on the road after winning against Florida State in Dublin, and they lost last week. They were getting blown off the field, and then to their credit, they came back and made a game of it at Syracuse. And Syracuse, with a new coach, perhaps higher hopes, but not necessarily thoughts of being a great team. So perhaps it really was more about Florida State than it was about Boston College. We'll certainly have answers to both those questions by about 3 o'clock tomorrow. As far as health news, Norfleet is going to play. Brett Norfleet is going to play, and that should be helpful for the Tigers. What are you hearing regarding his condition?
Yeah, I mean, I had heard early in the week it looked unlikely. Obviously, that's changed. Or the information I got just was inaccurate. I'll be interested to see how much he plays. I do think it makes a difference. It makes Missouri certainly a better team. I don't know that it's like a complete game changer necessarily, especially if he's not 100%. My guess would be, yes, he plays, but it's probably a lighter load unless you get in a situation where all of a sudden you're like, hey, we got to throw all barrels at this because this isn't quite as easy as we thought it was going to be. But yeah, it's certainly good news that he's back. Luther Burden, Theo Weiss expected to play. Cameron Johnson, I think, was kind of 50-50 earlier this week, according to Drinkwitz, and haven't gotten any updates on that because, now this is the last week outside of UMass where we won't get an actual injury report on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
Because it's the only non-con along from UMass.
The SEC mandates that, but they can't do it for non-conference games because if the other team doesn't have to do it, then why would you do it?
Right. With regard to the crowd, another sellout for Missouri. Also a lot of buzz about the Board of Curators yesterday officially approving the $250 million for the upgrades to the north end zone. I know you're always a rendering skeptic, and I think that's a healthy thing to be, a rendering skeptic, Jackson. But
uniform fan.
But big uniform fan. But your impressions of what you heard yesterday and what this will mean for Faurot Field and the timeline?
Well, I mean, the only thing different yesterday than 5 months ago when Rollo was Greg Sankey was there. Mm-hmm. I mean, all that yesterday, we already knew. There were a couple new pictures. They've updated the renderings a little bit, and for people that are into that and looking at buying those tickets, that was probably cool. But I didn't feel like I learned anything new yesterday, to be honest.
What do you think it will make that program's building look like in comparison to other SEC stadiums? Like, how does it rank now, in your opinion?
A lot of people are. I mean, the pictures are great. It makes it look like a modern, stadium that still has some modern without being, like Hard Rock or SoFi, like 22nd century stadium.
Right.
Modern, but still some basis in the past. For the fans who sit there and go to the game, I just always answer like game day experience questions with, I don't know, because mine's so much different. I mean, I don't know. I'm not out there. Like, I don't know what's good or bad about Faurot Field now because I don't use any of those spaces, to be honest. So I find it interesting that at a time where all the money really is going to acquiring players, that Missouri is doing something this aggressive on facilities. And, Bob Blitz and Laird Beach both said yesterday, hey, we needed to do it now because we've got to capitalize on the momentum we have. And if we wait a couple years, it might be too late. So I get that. But it's one of the reasons I've been saying for months how important this season is. If Eli goes and wins 11 games and makes the playoff, they'll raise that money without any real issue. Mm-hmm. If they don't, that's a lot of money, man.
Yeah.
I don't know how it'll go.
That gets me to something. I saw this had a lot of traction on Power Mizzou. I think it was going on actually during Miami beating the hell out of Florida. And I was asked this question on the program yesterday. If I see Drinkwitz taking off, should a quote-unquote blue blood come along and knock on his door? Randy Carricker heard us talking about it. He stepped in and told a story about a big Arkansas donor telling him that he doesn't worry about Florida so much as he worries about Arkansas potentially getting involved. That doesn't mean that he would go, but that Arkansas would try should they make a change with Sam Pittman. Do you have any insight onto that? I think, and I also, as a follow-up question, I think things may have changed, not because Missouri's success in 2023, but just I wonder if coaches go, if you got the NIL going, it might not necessarily be the grass is always greener when you go to a program that whacks a coach, after 2 or 3 years, and you might have a better situation by staying in Columbia. So what do you think about that topic of conversation that certainly has some Missouri fans buzzing?
Yeah, if he has the season Missouri wants him to have, he will get called. There's no question. He will be on Florida's list if they fire Billy Napier, and he's good this year. I think it's malpractice if you were the Arkansas AD and don't at least make a call. Now, I mean, from the drama standpoint, him taking the Arkansas job would be an unbelievable few weeks on the internet. He would go from the most loved man in the history of Missouri athletics to easily the most hated. Like, not even a question.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's a move. Look, I think he is more likely to be here long term than I would have told you he was this time last year.
Absolutely. He hadn't played the K-State game yet.
Right. But, if you ask 100 coaches, where's it easier to win a national title, Florida or Missouri? 100 of them are going to say Florida. They just are. And I think that gap has narrowed, but I don't know how much the coaching perception has changed. Like, I think he would be on their list. I think he would listen to them. What he would do, I have no idea. I don't think it's necessarily a slam dunk that he would go. I think he's pretty happy here. If I'm advising him, you are the most powerful person on campus. You literally never ask for anything you don't get. If you go 8-4, 9-3 here every year, you're never getting fired. That's not true at some of these other places, but these guys don't think the way I think.
Yeah.
So is it a possibility? Yes, I think it's a possibility. What I've been telling fans is enjoy the hell out of the next 3 months. And whatever happens then happens. If he ends up getting a job and taking a different job, you are going to be able to hire somebody so much better than you could when you hired him. This job is different than it was 5 years ago. And if you get to that situation, then deal with it. But we don't have any control over it. What I think about it, what you think about it, what my message board thinks about it, none of it matters. All that matters is, number one, does he actually get an opportunity like that? And number two, what is his opinion of that opportunity? That's it. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks except maybe his wife.
Gabe DeArmond, Power Mizzou, with us every Friday here, brought to you by James Carlton of the Carlton State Farm Insurance Agency. Head to Power Mizzou right at 3 o'clock tomorrow, Jackson, as soon as that game's over. Colonel will be there, post-game show. Post-game show.
Leave a voicemail.
Yeah, leave a voicemail. Live phone call starting in College Station. That's what I hear.
I'll just say it now. On the show last week, we encouraged people to drink a little bit more.
I saw that.
We need it livened up.
Yeah,
I saw that.
I think tomorrow you'll get it livened up. That's the Colonel, Gabe DeArmond, with us here every Friday, brought to you by James Carlton. Power Mizzou is where you can read them. Missouri, Boston College, 11:45. Thank you, Colonel.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
Thanks, Gabe.
That's Gabe DeArmond with us here on the program. Second half of Balloon Party coming your way next. This is 101 ESPN.
This is Action Jackson with a Sports Center update driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Cardinals win yesterday, taking the series from the Cincinnati Reds. Final score of 6-1. The Cardinals play again tonight. 6:07 first pitch. They're taking on the Toronto Blue Jays in Canada. You can catch that game at 6:07 p.m. That was their Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
It's Balloon Party 101 ESPN. My name's Tim McKernan. That's Jackson Burkett. And he was running late for his Sports Center update, and he just walked in here. And what a moment it would have been if he wouldn't have been here.
What would you have done if just you heard the Sports Center update thing go up, and then it just was nothing?
Kept watching this TikTok video I was watching about best place to stay in Las Vegas for high-stake gamblers, honestly.
What was the consensus? Aria?
Win, Concord. Aria? Really?
I hear the Aria is really cool.
I'm surprised. I mean, it's a great poker room, but I'm surprised to hear that that would be.
It's a pretty new hotel, isn't it?
It's about 15 years old.
Okay. The newest one's that Fontaine Bleu,
yeah.
They were building that for like 20 years, right?
Yeah. Is that where you stay?
No. One time I've been to Vegas, I stayed at Circa. It was lovely. The stadium swim. It was really cool.
Yeah.
But that was downtown. I've never stayed on the Strip.
Never stayed on the Strip.
I walked the Strip. That was intense. August at the Las Vegas Strip, walking up
Relaxing,
and down.
breezy.
And it's not like you can just go into Caesars and then walk next door and then go to wherever. It takes about 25 minutes to get to each and every casino because there's a bunch of construction pathway. It's a whole thing.
Escorts.
It's cool. It is cool. Well, hello, everybody. That's what you say.
Sleepless in Seattle shirt? That's from Fat Bob in the YouTube channel. Were you wearing that on the street?
That was, what was the Cosmopolitan?
Chandelier Bar.
That's where I wore the Sleepless in Seattle
That's a bachelorette party scene.
It was, man. It was. They were working.
Did the ladies say, "Look at that young boy from Midday Radio"?
Look at that. Look at that pale boy in the Sleepless in Seattle shirt, even though he wasn't born when the movie came out. They were wearing all pink cowboy hats, and that to me signaled bachelorette party.
Really?
Well, one would think. I mean, why else would you be wearing a pink cowboy hat? All 8 of you.
And did you go over there and put pucks on net?
Yeah, you know what I did is I took my gin and tonic and I sat down right next to him, much like I'm doing right now. And I sat right in the middle. They're like,
ladies, let me tell you about the Sacramento Kings.
That's right. I took out a Marlboro, lit that up, and then just greatness.
Marlboro head?
Yeah, unfiltered.
Oh, got it. Oh, wow. Very nice. Very, very nice. Jackson, it's a Friday. We have the Colonel on. He's brought to you by James Carlton.
He is.
And that means we have the Friday 6-shooter.
Woo, 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 woo. How about a little hypothetical odyssey?
Hypothetical odyssey. I like the observation deck. I like the odysseys. I like it all.
If Mizzou is to have a very special season, could there be a better time in college football history for it to happen, or is right now the perfect time?
I suppose that, this does sound like this is a little Orlovskian.
Well, my
answer's Orlovskian. You don't have to get defensive, Princess. Everything's fine.
Well, the question is a little Orlovsky. It's like leading. It's Orlovsky leading.
But I do think, and now I'm looking at the east side of the state. Right. West side of the state has good things going on. Hell, they might be in the World Series and Super Bowl.
Yeah, but how's their bloop trolley?
Over here, while the Cardinals are plus 60,000 to win the World Series.
Value.
Thank you. And the Blues have the day game opener that Jackson is very critical of up in the Pacific Northwest. There is an opening. And I think that's why you have some people who normally wouldn't be Missouri football fans or just watching because they want to see them lose.
Right.
Schadenfreude.
Yeah, which is fine.
It's fine. Hey, come one, come all.
Yeah.
There is an opening here in this side of the state to take over the sports calendar. And so considering the 12-team playoff, considering what I think you can already tell is increased attention for college football, there's no better time than right now.
Fangraphs has the Cardinals' chance of making the playoffs at 0.4%. So they're not out of it just yet.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're not out of it just yet.
6 games back of the wild card.
Yep, projected to win 82.5 games.
God, I feel like I said that before they had the first pitch in L.A.
Right. 82.
I think the number actually was 83.5 or 4.5 was the Las Vegas number.
But what throws a wrench in all of it is the 06 Cardinals won 83 games and won it all. And so like when you're planning it out the season beforehand, you're just like, well, if you can win 83, we've done it before. The outlier can't be the rule.
Let's play 162 games and just get in a tournament.
Yep. And it's cold, too, by the way, during that tournament.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. I'm pinning my hopes to the Detroit Tigers. So I'm adopting.
Great hat. An all-time great logo and hat.
So you're complimentary of DeSmet.
Yeah, sure. D-World. What up?
The Detroit Tigers mounting a Sunday charge, and they were clipped by the Rockies last night.
That can't happen.
You can't have that happen in mid-September if you're trying to mount a Sunday charge. All right, what else do we have on the hypothetical Odyssey?
Just real quick, you hit the A's bet already, right? That's already clear? That's good.
Yeah.
That's good stuff right there. If a genie could grant you 2 wishes for the Cardinals, the third one is the Navy road caps at all times.
That goes without. That's actually the first one. But yes,
right.
That's a given.
That's
the
a
Navy
given.
road cap has to come back.
But you get 2 wishes, and you can't just be like they win 110 games. Like
I get it. I follow you.
What are your 2 wishes?
The process. You don't want the result
For the off season. For this off season.
Okay. Well, you know me. I don't kink shame. I'm pro freedom, honesty in media.
Yeah.
And also, I'm happy to take an unpopular position. Mm-hmm. Not because I'm a contrarian looking for engagement. I don't even know. Do I have engagement going on right now?
When all you do is tweet out gifs, then you can't really have engagement.
That's correct. And cute boy gifs.
I was going to say something, and then I caught myself because I remember where I was.
It would have been wonderful if you decided to take that filter off. We're talking about the process. So, if we can't go, sign Soto and Burns.
Right, for nothing, yeah.
I would like to see the Cardinals unload the big dollars.
Yep.
And I don't know who could handle the press conference. So that's number one, unload the big dollars.
Right.
But that was preceded by a press conference. I don't know who the main speaker would be representing the organization in the realm of reality. Mm-hmm. But someone that I would gather would have to either be the chairman, Bill DeWitt Jr., Bill DeWitt III, essentially saying, you know what? We have to acknowledge that what we've been doing the last decade is not working. And it's on us because we were using a formula that provided success, some of the best success in the game from 2000 through 2015, but it doesn't work anymore. And it's our responsibility to get it right, to reward the loyalty of the fans who have been coming through here up until this past year to the tune of $3 million every single year. And therefore, it's going to take some time, but beginning day one, which is now, we are going to get back to where we were, and we won't stop until we get there. Now, we're going to have to do some things that you're not used to, but we believe that we're going to get this thing back. And that also means parting ways with some big dollar players.
Yeah.
And I think that's the first step.
Yeah.
I think they can make that move. And I think Cardinal fans, some would still be pissed. Like 3 million fans. We need to go out getting Soto and Burns.
You can't please everybody.
That's fine. But then you have the mindset of, okay, it's not going to, because I don't know how it happens next year. I mean, of course it can. But if you look at the roster next year, who's under contract, who's not, where things are in the minor leagues, they're just not close.
Yeah.
I don't even know who's going to pitch for them. I don't think many people, if you did a Gallup poll, would want to see Paul Goldschmidt back.
No, certainly not for the price tag he currently carries.
$26 million. That you go, okay, we're not close. Now is the time. The issue with all of that is if they are in a financial spot, and by that I mean bad financial spot, that they don't feel comfortable with announcing that. And that's in part because of the television situation, that they feel like they have to continue to sell a quote-unquote competitive team, and they can't turn the page. And I'm not saying this is like blow it up, because there are some young pieces, but the young pieces have to know they're going to play. They're not sent back and forth between Memphis for whatever weird reason. And I think it would really help the organization to have somebody who either handles messaging or works with someone who isn't necessarily great at messaging to work with them on how to speak to the fans.
Yeah.
Is basic as that is, when people ask, well, what's the difference between the Blues and Cardinals? We start at messaging, because it's not like one is killing it on the ice and one isn't on the field. They both have struggled the last 2 years, but one has equity with the fans and the other doesn't. And so I think that's a big part of it. I don't know if that's realistic that they would do that. I would love it if they would.
Yeah, I think shopping, so like Goldie, not re-signing Goldie, I think could be done pretty easily. You just don't re-sign them. Shopping Contreras seems like a possibility because his numbers are good this year. He's obviously dealt with a bunch of injuries, but you don't want to keep him around for the price he's going to carry later down the road, and he doesn't really catch. Arenado might be a tougher sell, and he also has no trade clause, but you would think that they would shop those guys, right? Like if they're just planning on...
I actually wouldn't think they would. I wouldn't think they would, because what have they ever done to indicate that they would shop big-time players? That has not been their business model.
There was a discussion last year about the possible Arenado trade, the rumors around that.
That was from the Los Angeles Times, and here in St. Louis, it was met with like a MSNBC report on Fox News.
Yeah, it did not play well.
So, it was like, that can't be true.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, but fine. Yeah, I would love to see them do that.
Yeah,
and I just continue to believe the Cardinal fans would welcome it if there is a message along with it.
If the messaging runs parallel,
correct.
Because the messaging now is that we're going to compete this year, but you look under the hood and this couldn't be the case.
And they're not close for next year.
No. If you don't have young pitching, you can't be considered close. Unlikely. It's unlikely to be considered close if you have no young pitching.
Well, and also, who's the big bat or two?
Sajacy.
Okay.
See that flare? I said, give me more of that.
I did.
No batting gloves? I need more of that.
You like the no batting gloves?
No, I don't. I think it looks awful.
You're mad as a hornet. All right, we'll take a commercial break and welcome you to give your thoughts on the topic. What two wishes would you like for the Cardinals? 314-399-9646, Air Comfort Service text line, and the YouTube chat. 101 ESPN YouTube channel. This is Balloon Party, driven by Munganess, St. Louis Acura, Munganess, Burkhardt, Alton Toyota, 101 ESPN. Welcome back. Balloon Party 101 ESPN. Tim McKernan, Jackson Burkett with you on the program. 10 minutes left in the week, Jackson. How are you going to handle it? How are you going to optimize it? What are you going to give this audience?
I got a question.
Okay.
Give me one moment here.
It's unbelievable.
No, everyone, if you got like tire shoes or something, now's a good time. All right, here we go. How often can greatness be redefined? With each passing year, records get broken and players get better and better. How clouded does our judgment of players or teams get because people keep getting better? And how does that interact with the common theme of romanticizing the past?
I'm going to need what you were thinking of when you asked this question to put me on the right track for an answer. If you could, please, kind sir.
Like we've seen Tom Brady do everything. 7 Super Bowls, MVPs, passing yard records, what have you, touchdown records. We see Pat Mahomes right now doing very similar things. Like, do you think as time will go on, like it's going to be hard to be like, this player is like judging greatness year after year is just going to get harder and harder because like the standard gets changed every single time. And then also people like to romanticize the past. How does that work in conjunction with greatness being redefined so often?
I don't have a good answer. What do you think the answer is?
I think it's interesting because I think we do have this thing where we romanticize the past, and we talked about this on TMA yesterday, where like players who you watch growing up, like you tend to think are like the best players ever. And then when someone new comes along, you're like, well, they couldn't be better than this person because we've built them up in our heads. But one would tell you that as time goes on, players are only going to get better and better. But can that greatness continue to be redefined? I don't know. I wonder how people think about that. You know, how do you compare across eras, and how do you think of great teams? Like I like the Rams, the greatest show on turf. I bet if you were to ask around to people, like, who would you rather take, like the Chiefs in 2019 or 2020, whenever they beat the Niners that first time around, and then like compare that to the greatest show on turf? Like people my age wouldn't have a great opinion about the greatest show on turf, but I think we can all agree.
They didn't see him, yeah.
Right. So that's kind of where I'm at. Like, do you think that there's players who get lost in time?
I feel it's in the sense of like looking at the Cardinals, the best player of my lifetime without question is Albert Pujols, and he didn't come along until I guess I was 24. Mm-hmm. But I grew up with, and my favorite teams were the 80s Cardinals.
Yeah.
But I recognize anytime I talk about the 85 Cardinals being a great team, I go, but I may be biased. Mm-hmm. I was old enough to be covering the greatest show on turf for television, and I've seen the Chiefs, and I know that this is Chiefs country now.
Damn right.
But the greatest show on turf was a more high-powered offense.
Right.
And I think the main reason being, even though Mahomes may be better, certainly flashier than Kurt Warner was, I mean, I think Pat Mahomes would probably be the first one to say it. Yeah. They had a hell of a lot of options.
Yeah.
You know, starting with 28 in the backfield and then, you know, Holt and Bruce on either side of them. Yeah. So you have those options in addition to Azeem.
Yeah.
Don't forget about Azeem, Jackson.
Where's Ty Hill fit into all of this?
Great first-round pick. One of the few first-round picks in NFL history to be smaller than me, so he's always going to be my favorite.
Yeah, and then trunk candidate, your second favorite?
Well, I mean, some franchises don't have the balls to draft a running back in the first round when you have Marshall Faulk in your backfield already in the prime of his career. And that's the kind of outside-the-box thinking that led to greatness. Yeah.
What was the moment that the Rams, like, from a front office standpoint, just absolutely torpedoed themselves into the basement of the NFL?
That's tough. It's almost like we got to do a Mount Rushmore.
Like, what was the move? Like, there was one defining moment where it was like,
I have to say, I just remember thinking when they drafted Trunk Candidate, but I had just like started at KMOV, and I'm going, it's a lot, isn't it? I mean, am I off?
Is that post 01?
That was post 99. He was the first round pick in 2000.
Okay, so that went to a Super Bowl after that, so it'd be tough to point
They did. He wasn't really a big factor in it.
Which is a mistake on their part.
Right.
Maybe they would have won it if they would have included him more in the offense.
I mean, it was such a miss. Trying to then I remember this was like there was some tension in the front offices over they drafted a guy named Jacoby Shepard in the second round out of Oklahoma State. He was a cornerback. And I don't think he like really played at Oklahoma State, but somebody really liked his workouts or something. And then it was in the second round. And then I think Martz really liked a guy from Arizona State who never played. And they would always draft quarterbacks and turn them into safeties.
That is really weird.
Eric Crouch. I can't remember the other one. There was a guy out of Michigan State. I'm sorry to do this to everybody, for those who can remember this stuff, this is like going down awful memory lane.
Someone said signing 65-year-old Jason Seymour.
Yeah. The Tavon Austin draft pick. Yeah, I mean, I remember having Tyoka Jackson on the morning after that pick, and he's just like, I don't get it, man. He goes, I've been on the defensive line in the NFL. We don't have dudes like that running around the field on offense, because he was also about my size. Now, he's the fastest guy you'll ever see, but he was skeptical of that. I mean, really, when it gets down to it, the Sam Bradford thing was probably defining,
right? But I feel like that was
it. But it was off the rails. I mean, there were a bunch of them. I mean, they had to think that they were the Super Bowl champions with Marshall Faulk in the backfield, and they drafted Trung Candidate in the first round. Now, granted, it was a later pick because they were, as good as they were in '99, but still, to do that, then to pick an unproven cornerback in the second round, and then because they had the luxury of trading Trent Green to get first-round pick, and I don't know where the other one came from, but they had 3 first-round picks. And they're the best team in the NFL, best offense in the NFL. And so they used them to draft Damian Lewis, Ryan Pickett, and Adam Archuleta. And it still didn't, really get them anywhere.
Yeah.
And then I remember they drafted Robert Thomas, a linebacker out of UCLA, and Jimmy Kennedy, who was dropping on the draft board. And we couldn't believe he was there, as opposed to going, wonder why he's here.
Right. That's always the question.
That was like, if you want to draw a parallel to current day St. Louis sports, the fact that we all, and I think I can almost say we all love the Eric Fetty trade.
Yeah.
I know I said it on all the shows I do. I go, that's the only, I love the Eric Fetty. I want to make this clear. I'm not moving off of, what I said. I'm just like, it's weird though that we all love it that much.
Yeah. Because usually
that's the tell. And so when you got a guy sliding down the draft board like that, you go, oh, is this an advantage for us like Aaron Rodgers, or is this a screaming tell?
Yeah. Yeah. The Tavon Austin one, because that was during my time as a Rams fan, I think the pick was okay. I think the execution of what they did with him was terrible.
You didn't like him as a guy running between the tackles?
They go, we're going to run him either between the tackles or deep balls. And then Tyreek Hill comes in the league. I'm not saying Tavon Austin's as good as Tyreek Hill, but a shorter guy with a ton of speed, and he's the best receiver in football. So I think that he was the right player. He could have been the right pick. They just used him so terribly, so terribly. And didn't. But him and Stedman Bailey pulled off the coolest trick play I've ever seen, where Tavon Austin faked catching the punt, but Stedman actually caught it on the other side of the field and then ran it down, and that was awesome.
I do recall that. That was a hell of a moment.
So cheers to the post Gray Show on Turf Rams.
Oh my gosh!
This is a toast to you.
A rare salute.
This is a toast to you, Les Snead.
A rare salute. Let's see. Eric Crouch was from Nebraska. I remember that. And then he came in, and I don't know if they turned him into a wide receiver. I think that was that. Ty Hill was an office pick. You idiots are the Alex Barrett of radio. That's from Merle and Oakville.
Alabama center? Or am I thinking of someone else?
He's a Florida State tackle. That was another. Yeah, if you look at the Rams' first-round picks after they won the Super Bowl, that kind of will tell you all you need to know.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking of Barrett Jones. That's who I'm thinking of.
Barrett Jones, Alabama.
Yeah.
Alex Barron, he really enjoyed the false start. He really, we don't kink shame on this show, and we're passionate about that tenet, but his kink was to go out in front of a lot of people knitting in the lower bowl at the Dome.
Right.
And the sound of the yarn being knitted get him to just jump 4 or 5 times before a snap each game.
How would he do at SoFi when they have to be on the hard count at home?
That's right. That would have been problematic. All right, BK and Ferrari are coming up next for Jackson Bennett. I'm Tim McKernan. This has been Balloon Party, driven by Munganess, St. Louis Acura, Munganess, Burkhardt, Alton Toyota on 101 ESPN.